who are here, the business people who have traveled from everywhere in Europe to come and seek opportunities here. You are most welcome, especially the business people. We like your money, but we also know that when you come here and do business, you're also going to like making money from here. So it's a win-win situation. I am speaking to you tomorrow, so you'll hear more of me tomorrow. Let's make a date. For now, my task is to invite His Excellency the President to come and speak to us. Mr. President, sir, as Scott Awina said, Vulela, Vulela, Shavasa Kutwa. Please come.
May we take our seats, please? Thank you very much. Without taking much time, let me acknowledge the ministers that I'm seated with and at the top table there, finance and transport, but also let me recognize all the ministers from the EU countries that are here, from Zambia, and it's my also duty to recognize the Vice President, Hakainde, that's amidst us, the EU Commissioner for International Partnership, Mrs. Keller, and indeed the Vice President of the European Investment Bank, who we had dinner with the Israeli President a few days ago. We recognize you. Let me recognize Your Excellency Ambassador, EU Ambassador to Zambia, and all your colleagues in the diplomatic service, ambassadors, high commissioners accredited to Zambia. We recognize you, COMESA, Secretary General, if she's here, and ZDA Director General, and all the other colleagues in public sector, central, local government, quasi-government that are present, and truly, and very importantly, to all the delegations from Europe, different countries of Europe, business delegations from home here in Zambia here. I see the President of Manufacturers through you, all your colleagues that are present. And may I just say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen that are here today, I want to start by expressing how delighted I am, we are, as Zambia, to host today's EU-Zambia Lobito Corridor Business Forum. And just to correct the Director of Ceremonies, this is not the first business forum we've had here. In fact, in Zambia, this is, I think, the second or so. But we've had many, in fact, about 6 or so in the States, in Europe itself, in Angola, and then, of course, here in Zambia. But returning to my message is to really express how delighted we are to be where we are today. It's extremely important to reflect on what the PDU leader said over there, the calendar that she gave, the rundown of where we are coming from and where we are today. It's very, very important. Real engagement started before 2023, then shortly after we were elected into public office. And I must say that also following our session with the European Union Parliament in June of 2022, the road to where we are today starts way back June 2022, when we had the opportunity to present in the European Parliament. And we're grateful for the EU colleagues for making that opportunity possible for us. And in there, we talked about the opportunities in Zambia, that there will be renewed opportunities in this country. I do remember closing my message to the EU parliamentarians then that Zambia is back in the Champions League. And when we sit where we are today, where we were then, having just assumed office a few months earlier, and that we can have this forum here, the EU, Zambia, Lobito Corridor Business Forum, is a tremendous move or movement. But I'm the first one to say that we can do more, quicker, and I'll be commenting about this. So truly, this is a great day and a number of days to follow from here. I must also indicate what I whispered to my colleague, the EU Commissioner, as the conversations were going on or presentations were going on, that the EU must do more with Zambia. The EU must do more with Africa. And I mean that. Africa and the EU have one of the longest interactions in human history. And I think along the way, we both dropped the ball. And we focused on political relationships, concerning ourselves more on issues of immigration, which are very important. But I think the underlying value was not attended to, in my view. Deepening our business, investment, trade cooperation, working together in that space. Now is the time to attend to what we've been ignoring for a long time. Trade, yes, was taking place, but on one dimension, Africa's raw materials into Europe, Africa's labor into Europe. I think now is to engage in real business partnerships, investing together, given Africa's huge resource endowments. Zambia in particular, a huge resource endowment. We must exploit these endowments using the combination of assets that we have. Capital, and you know what I'll say next, coming here at the right price, so we don't inject a higher cost of doing business driven by the cost of capital. And we want to thank our European Investment Bank colleagues, first the EU itself, for mobilizing resources, capital, to be invested for investment in our country, on the continent, at a fair price. We must continue driving capital brought onto Zambia to Africa at a fair price. So we clip from that angle alone. I know there are many other factors, the cost of doing business in Zambia, on the continent. I was talking about the combination of assets that we need to bring to the table. The next is technology. Zambia needs the best technology. Africa needs the best technology, not the second-rate technology. No, the best technology for mutual benefit, because the best technology will help us to deliver our objectives in the projects, in the businesses, efficiently. Digital platforms must apply the best technology. Second level asset. Number 3, I talked about resource endowment, capital, technology. But the next issue I want to touch in this, if I may say, rediscovered partnership, deepening our partnership between Europe, Zambia, and Africa, is to see Africa differently, not the historical angle we've seen Africa from, to provide raw materials only. We need to see partnerships, joint ventures between the European businesses and the Zambian businesses, African businesses, joint ventures, in the real sense of joint ventures. So we can have what I call a vested interest in each other at the business level. Of course, that will then gravitate to one of the challenges that we have, which is people to people and this scourge of migration, the boat people. When we engage in joint ventures, proper joint ventures between Europe and Africa, we will then help grow the Zambian economy, which is our agenda, growth and more growth, but also, honestly speaking, benefit Europe, critical raw materials, critical materials, for example. But more importantly, the refined point I'm making is to create opportunities for our youthful population in Zambia and on the continent of Africa as one way of mitigating illegal migration, because we'll have created opportunities on the continent, in Zambia and on the continent. This is extremely important as we deliberate in a forum like this, business forum like this, EU, Zambia, Lobito Corridor program or forum. I'm putting context to what our intentions must be, what our transactions must take into account of as outcomes. Yes, commercial viability, but with commercial viability comes expansion of our economies, our Zambian economy, and in this case, the Lobito Corridor, Angola, Zambia, Angola, DRC. And I'm here to mention to you that this Lobito Corridor, our EU partners, is generating substantial interest, almost to a level of countries getting envious about what we are putting together here. And we would like to see that also coming through in our projects around the Lobito Corridor. Lobito deep sea, natural deep sea port in the Benguela province of Angola, into DRC, into Zambia. And the Zambia Luakano, correct me, Kuso? Not Luakano. Luakano team off into Kanongesha, into Mwenelonga, and of course, into Kalombela, Lumwana, Solwezi, Chingola. Very, very important. These are, as my colleagues have said, these are not just railway systems or corridors, not just roads. These are about great opportunities for business. Small business, SMEs, medium-sized businesses, yes, large businesses. Great opportunity to open up the resource endowments that lie along these corridors. And truly, I stray back to the assets, skills. Very important. So I want to say today here that this journey we've walked around the Lobito Corridor, and now our concept here, for example, in Zambia, and not to mourn about citizens of Zambia underrating themselves, complaining about the landlockedness. There's no landlockedness. There's a land-linked opportunities. That's why I'm describing these things. It's a great opportunity, and we must be broader in our minds and stop moaning and groaning about this excellent location God gave us. 8 plus 1 neighbor. The 9th, which is a +1, being Burundi, connected through Lake Tanganyika. Just what I've described, for us, this leg of the Lobito corridor, Luakano, Kanongesha, Mwinilunga, Kalumbila, Lumwana, Solwezi, Chingola, is a huge asset base. Minerals, land, water, to tie to this route and its viability. Not just to move raw minerals, but to process them. And I want to say, as I was walking outside there in the stands, I was excited. I'm sure the delegation that was walking around with me noted my eyes popping up when the mention of processing cobalt here, and looking at the location, I think, considering Mufrila now, to process cobalt here to a next level is a great, great opportunity. And for Dr. Sixtus Mulenga there, who has lived all his life in and around mining, these are the projects that are transformational to take cobalt to the next level. Next other level is EV batteries, which around the Lobito corridor, Commissioner, we've been talking about way back. The US, Congo DRC, Congo DR, may not repeat, US, Congo DR, and Zambia Battery Council, CUSO, which we sign up in the US. That brings that story together when you tie the processing of cobalt, and then next we can go to EV batteries. This is what we would like to see happen now. We've waited for too long. I was asking the team outside there, when are we moving on this project? What do you want? What support do you need? What does this government of Zambia need to do to actualize that project? That is what, for me, our excitement is driven from. And I believe the Zambian businesses that are seated here don't moan and groan. See the opportunities. Diversification, value addition. Shows another point. Capital, first the resource endowment, then capital, technology, joint ventures, value addition. That's the story. That's the story. That's a message. And I'm very delighted that we have EU businesses in this room today. From our June conversation, to be specific, 23rd June 2022, we can now sit in this room in this manner. My encouragement, let's get on with the transactions. There's no time. Let's get on with the transactions. The EU is willing, with all its aspects of the EU, broader, including the bank. Zambia is willing and ready. Our job is to say, what is it that is slowing us down? Let's deal with that. Ministers, Zambian ministers, you hear me talk about these things over and over in cabinet meetings. Let's checklist what these businesses, Zambian and EU businesses, are saying or complaining about is taking time. Let's make it personal. Let's take it personal. Permanent secretaries, take it personal. PDU. take this personal with your European Union delegation. Working together to assemble this business forum is important. But more important is to unlock the transactions and the issues that stand in the way. That's where I sit. We have everything. What we don't have, we'll bring it on the table. Our collective network must be able to find solutions to those things that we don't have together. Europe, Zambia come Africa. This is an exciting project. This forum must now, once it ends on Friday, ZDA, PDU, EU delegation, the President would like to see a summary of the transactions and the action matrix that arise from this forum. That's all I want to see. That's all I want to see. Anything else are processes, other things are processes, but the test of the pudding is in the eating. We get the transactions off the table. I've looked at the feasibility study reports, African Finance Corporation. We need to accelerate. We need to drive those desk fieldwork processes quicker, faster, and bring forward conclusion of those pieces of work that are being done, including what I hear in the viability assessment, the gap of $600 million plus. Really, if I look at Europe and what you do in Europe, together we should be able to close that gap. As we know in this room that that gap will also be closed much faster if we grow the transactions coming out of this forum for justification for the project. I chose to speak this way today and really not repeat things that have been said already, but to bring context, to put context to what we have been working on for months, for years. I repeat what I said. Europe must do more with Zambia and Africa. Do not create a gap consciously or unconsciously. Our long history of working together, the migration, human migration, has happened a lot between Africa and Europe in the old days. So we know each other well enough. After all, our labor helped you to build Europe anyway. Yes, that is true. Now let's work together to build Africa, to solve some of the problems Europe is facing, injected from Africa and Africans. And I want to also, because technology allows me to appeal to the African population. We have great opportunities on this continent, in this country, on this continent. Let's utilize a project like this to exploit those opportunities. I'm one of those that spent years in school in the UK. I was still young. And one day I went to the immigration in UK, Midlands, Birmingham there. And I wanted to make sure that my visa is good enough for me to finish my research paper. I was doing my master's. And other African students. So the queue was long. My time came, and I presented my documents to the immigration officer. And she looks at me, looks at the documents, and looks at me again. I said, Madam, is there a problem? She says, no. You are asking for 1 month extension to your visa. 1 month. Did you write properly here? I said, yes, madam. I said, why are you asking me like that? She says, you're the first African student asking for, in today's queue here, asking for 1 month extension. Your friends, I won't mention nationalities, your friends, that's why the queue was not moving. They were asking for 1 year, 2 year extension. You just want 1 month. I said, yes. She picks the form, alters that 1 month and puts 1 year and stamps it, an extension to my visa of 1 year. I haven't told the story fully. So I said, madam, I just need 1 month. I need to go home. I have work in my office at home. She looks at me and smiles, says, go. You have 1 year. Go. What am I saying here? We don't need to seek opportunities in Europe and stay there when we don't need to be there, because there are great opportunities on this continent. If I try to stay in the UK, I wouldn't be standing here as president of Zambia today. Impossible. We found an opportunity back in our own country at home. That's the message I'm sending. Let's be of value to ourselves, but in partnership with Europe, with Asia, with America, and Africa is the only continent today that yet has to rapidly develop, because our partners in less development, Asia, they've moved on. Asia has moved on. It's us now who are left behind. That's my encouragement to us Africans, especially the young population. Get your skill, get your education, come. We in politics also must work properly and correctly to create a business environment that will make Africans, young Europeans, find value in doing things together, which will help us grow our economy, job opportunities, business opportunities, as this corridor offers great opportunities. And indeed, for my Minister of Finance, Treasury income. All of these things are connected. So I want to end by thanking the organizers, EU team or teams, Zambian teams, our many other partners that we're working with. This far we have come. Where we've reached now is to get things done yesterday and not sit on anything. So thank you to the teams that have worked hard to get this forum, which is oversubscribed. And I made a comment in the holding room there that my team was proudly saying to me, Mr. President, we've done very well. The forum is oversubscribed. We had to cut off some people. I said, what did you do? You don't cut off investment opportunities. I said you should have pitched tents around and put screens so that you kept, those people coming and coming. My message is that you are all welcome to invest in this country. Zambia is ready for business, and we continue to do what we need to do to improve the business operating environment. Please understand that Africa is many countries, but we're not exactly the same. For example, this country has no exchange controls, and we're not marketing that. Zambia has no exchange controls. You bring your capital, you invest here, you make your money, you pay your tax, you can repatriate your dividends. No questions asked. How many other countries on the continent are like what I'm describing? Not many. So European investment businesses, you are in the right place. Just redouble your projects, the size of your projects. Increase them 2 times more, if not 3 times more. And I'm grateful for what the Vice President of the European Investment Bank says. This risk perception you have been attributing on projects in Africa is not correct. Let's relook at the way we perceive Zambia and Africa's risks. With a project like this, and the opportunities around it, and the resource endowment we hold, as one of my delegates, our delegates, when we were presenting in London about 3 months ago when I visited London at a forum, but a very smaller forum. I think, Jito, you were there. Were you there? You were not there. Who was with me in that London small business forum? My team colleagues. Yeah, there you are. One of the investors in London says, looked at his colleagues in a small delegation we had, a small business forum, because I asked for that so that we could have more closer interactions. He looked at his friend and says, why are you keeping your money in the city here? Me, I took my money to Zambia and in energy. He's invested in energy. And I can see I will make more money than the little money you make keeping your money in the city idle. That's my message. I echo his message. Bring your money here, select your projects properly in and around the Lobito corridor, in the energy sector, in other areas, agriculture, irrigation, agriculture, processing. You will yield. You will receive a yield higher than keeping your money in fixed deposit accounts in your cities. I challenge you. On that score, I declare this EU-Zambia Business Forum officially open. Thank you very much.
Let's give another round of applause to the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for those remarks. Yes, indeed, Zambia is back in the Premier League. Well, you heard him. We have no time to lose. Let's get those projects running. And Mr. President, that is exactly what we intend to do right now. As I invite you and the delegates that are with you at the high table to witness the signing of new EU-funded programs. These are just the first of many to come. And I will be calling out the different institutions that will be signing for these agreements. And so please pay attention when your institution or your name is called out. We ask that you come up as quickly as you can to sign on the ceremonial card. And as we start, the European Union has committed to invest over 200 million euros to Zambia through a variety of programs, which in one way or another support the sustainable development of Zambia and underpin the development of the Lobito economic corridor. For the first signing ceremony, I'd like to invite the Commissioner of the EU, Mr. Joseph Sikela, and the Minister of Transport, Mr. Honorable Frank Tayali, and the Managing Director of Zambia Railways, Mr. Cuthbert Malindi, to come forward for the first signing. Oh, Mr. Malindi is coming. So this is the Commissioner of the EU for International Partnerships, Mr. Joseph Sikela, the Minister of Transport for Zambia, Honorable Frank Tayali, and the Managing Director of Zambia Railways, Mr. Cuthbert Malindi. The Railway Sector Support Program will modernize Zambia's railway network to make freight transport by rail more efficient and competitive. It will upgrade the most deteriorated sections of the Zambia Railways line and improve the signaling system, reduce derailment risks, and increase train speeds. The support of 50 million euros, equivalent to 1.3 billion kwacha, will enhance operational performance, attract higher traffic volumes, and strengthen Zambia's role within the North-South and Lobito corridor. And so, the signing on the card. That's the first, followed by the Honorable Minister, and then the Managing Director of Zambia Railways. This is for the Railway Sector Support Program, 50 million euros, 1.3 billion kwacha. Another round of applause. Thank you so very much. And next, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Zambia, Honorable Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane, who will stand in the place of the Minister of Energy, Honorable Makozo Chikote, together with the German Ambassador to Zambia, Your Excellency Sonke Siemon, to join the EU Commissioner, Mr. Sikela, and they will sign for the Nexus Energy Water in Zambia, which will launch a second phase of the successful program with 41 million euro, equivalent to 1 billion kwacha, half of which provided by Germany. It will increase the energy autonomy of 3 commercial water utilities located along the Lobito corridor in the northwestern and Copperbelt provinces by supplying them with renewable solar power. Thanks to their energy autonomy, these companies will improve water supply services in urban and peri-urban areas. So that's for the Nexus Energy Water project. So the Minister of Finance will go first on behalf of the Energy Minister, Honorable Makozo Chikote. 41 million euros. All right. It says it's a signature of the German-speaking people, and there we have now for the Ambassador of Germany to Zambia. Thank you so very much. Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane, we ask that you, Dr. Musokotwane, we ask that you remain at the, Dr. Musokotwane, please remain, and the EU Commissioner as well. So for the next 2 agreements, we will have these 2 sign. The first is the EU-Zambia Partnership for Education Reform, which allocates 40 million euros in budget support to strengthen Zambia's education sector. The program will improve school infrastructure. Yes, a round of applause. The program will improve school infrastructure, provide learning materials, support teacher professional development, and advance policy reforms. Implemented over 2 years and led by the government of Zambia, it supports the country's free education policy as part of efforts to enhance access and quality in education nationwide. So this is for the EU-Zambia Partnership for Education Reform for 40 million euros. Okay, a round of applause for that one. And while they are still there, we'll move on to the second one, which is the improved accountability, access to justice, and equality along the critical raw materials value chain. And it builds on the EU-Zambia Memorandum of Understanding and the Common Roadmap on Critical Raw Materials. With a budget of 6 million euros, it targets mining communities in the Copperbelt, Luapula, and northwestern provinces. The project aims to enhance transparency and accountability in the mining sector, improve access to justice and remedies in work-related disputes, and strengthen policies and traditional systems to promote responsible business conduct throughout the value chain. So for improved accountability, access to justice, and equality along the critical raw materials value chain. That's for 6 million euros. Thank you, Commissioner and Honorable Minister. You may take your seats. Thank you very much. So these 4 agreements form part of a brand new EU support to Zambia to be launched this year. So let us proceed now with a ceremonial signing of additional new projects that valorize the EU contribution to development of the Lobito economic corridor across the sectors discussed at the forum. And the first of these is on agriculture, and I invite to the stage the EU ambassador to Zambia and COMESA, Her Excellency Carolina Stasiak. She's here already. The German ambassador to Zambia, Your Excellency Sonke Simon, and the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Ruben Mutolo. Is he here? Oh, yes. Oh, he was represented. All right. So they are coming to sign for the agriculture sector what is called the Enterprise Zambia 2.0. So Minister of Agriculture is represented by the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock. So this is coming, so Enterprise Zambia 2.0 comes from the success of Enterprise 1.0 and will catalyze a transformative shift in Zambia's agriculture sector by increasing productivity, ensuring equal market access for smallholder farmers, and promoting sustainable, inclusive, and climate-resilient production practices. The total investment is 36 million euros, with 28 million euros from the EU and 8 million euros from BMZ, the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. Let's put our hands together for Enterprise Zambia 2.0. So next we're moving on to the private sector. As part of the Green Tech 4CE program, I invite to the stage the representatives of 5 companies, and you will come in the sequence that I will announce. And these will be joined by the EU Ambassador to Zambia and COMESA, Honorable Your Excellency, Madam Stasiak. So today, we award a total of 1.6 million euros of grant, corresponding to 50% of the total investment of 3.4 million euros to 5 mining value chain companies to support economic diversification, SME development, and Zambia's transition to a green, circular, and digital economy. And the first of the 5, C&B Engineering, and Audrey Tembo will be coming through to sign on behalf of C&B Engineering. So this will establish automated heat treatment, balancing, and sand blasting services. Let's put our hands together for C&B Engineering and for Audrey Tembo, who is representing the organization, to sign. Well done. Congratulations, C&B. And the second company is Krupp Mining and Processing. Mr. Michael Krupnik will be coming forward. And this grant will study factory lines for copper foil and bus bars. That's for Krupp Mining and Processing. Another round of applause for Krupp Mining. The third company, Hayab Engineering. Martin Lombe Mutono is coming forward. And their grant will launch the first solar-powered hydraulic cylinder chroming and cladding plant. Let's put our hands together for Hayab Engineering with Mr. Martin Lombe Mutono. Congratulations, sir. That was company number 3. of 5. Company number 4 is Saxeni Limited. Mr. Matthew Nyurenda is coming forward. Let's give Saxeni Limited a big round of applause. And the grant will expand cathode plate refurbishment for more efficient electro-winding for Saxeni Limited. Congratulations. There you have it. And the 5th company out of 5, Zedfield Mining Limited. Mr. Anthony Kawaye. And the grant will help to develop a state-of-the-art heavy-duty component repair workshop. That's for Zedfield Mining Limited. Thank you. Moving on to the next category. To support skills development, I'd like to invite to the stage, or ask the EU ambassador to stay on the stage and be joined by the Chief of Fair Production, Sustainability Standards and Trade at UNIDO, and that's Verpi Stuckey, and also Self-Help Africa Representative Elia Manda. No? Oh, okay. So we will have the EU ambassador and Verpi Stuckey. So the Skills for Development Employment in Zambia, Artisanal and Small-Scale Mining Action will enhance inclusive and sustainable employment in Zambia's critical mineral value chains, including communities along the Lobito corridor. It will upskill and professionalize artisanal and small-scale miners with a particular focus on women and youth in the Copperbelt, Northwestern, and Luapula provinces. The action of the value of 9.8 million euros will be implemented over 4.5 years by UNIDO in close collaboration with the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development and the Ministry of Technology and Science. Let's give them a round of applause. Moving on to the energy sector now, and to join the EU ambassador on stage, may I invite the Minister, just a second, the Minister of Finance, I believe, again to stand in for the Minister of Energy. And also a representative of Electrify, Terp van Mierlo, I hope I got that name correct, as well as Tian Kodzi of Ilute Solar Project. So the Ilute Solar Project will deliver 32 megawatts of solar energy to Zambia's national grid through a market-based power purchase agreement with Greenco Power Services Limited, selling directly through competitive regional markets under the Southern African Power Pool. In partnership with the Barotse Royal Establishment, a community development trust will channel economic, social, and cultural benefits to local communities, including job creation and skills development. Let's put our hands together for Ilute Solar Project. And European Union works as Team Europe. European Investment Bank is the lending institution of the EU owned by its member states. Moving on to the next ceremony, and I'd like to invite to the stage the Vice President of the European Investment Bank, Carl Nehammer, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank, Ngenda Nyambe, to come forward to sign indeed for the financing agreement between the European Investment Bank and the Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank, which will enable 30 million euros in on-lending to private sector actors in key agricultural value chains.
Blended with an EU-backed risk-sharing facility and technical assistance, the initiative will increase access to finance for agri-food SMEs and smallholder farmers, supporting sustainable growth in Zambia's agricultural sector. This agreement is one of the 3 under the Agri-Value Chain Facility, enhancing investment in agriculture and aquaculture. Another round of applause, indeed, for ZICB and the European Investment Bank. May I now invite to the stage the Chief Executive Officer of Mining Finland, that's Lasse Moilanen, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Zambia Chamber of Mines, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. To come and sign the Memorandum of Understanding between the Zambia Chamber of Mines and Mining Finland, which will establish a partnership to exchange information on market developments and provide networking opportunities for their members. The agreement will support brand visibility in both countries and explore joint initiatives, including co-hosted events, trade missions, and collaborative research projects. All right, and that's it. Let's put our hands together indeed for all the organizations, all the institutions. Indeed, as the President said, we have no time to waste. And so these will set the ball rolling. And of course, we look forward to more coming out of these next 3 days that we will be together here at this forum. And so right now, we would like to ask that we just take some time to take a few pictures before we close the opening ceremony. And we'll invite the President, together with the dignitaries that he's with at the high table, just to stand for a few pictures, and thereafter